Welcome to another Spectrum Geeks video. In this one I'm going to talk to you about the current status of the payback for my solar and battery setup. I've now had it for 3 years, so I'm going to kind of update on the yearly video I've been doing each year to say how long is the system paying back. And in this video I'll also add a bit right at the end because a few people have been asking over the last kind of 6 months what happened with my whole roof debacle, is it still leaking, what were all the issues and everything. So because it's been a long time now, I think it's pretty much closed and any resolution that wasn't happening is done and dusted. So I'll put that at the end of the video. But that's it, let's roll the intro and get into this. Okay, so you're probably watching this video because you're thinking about getting solar. Maybe you've got solar already and you're trying to do some research on how long does it take to kind of pay back. What's the return on investment for your solar? So one of the things I should say from the beginning is obviously I got in right at the end of the feed-in tariff. So if you're obviously getting solar and things now, I think the cost of solar has come down a little bit, but there is no more feed-in tariff. So you're only going to get paid for what you export. I get paid for export whether I do it or not. And I also try and consume as much of the solar energy I generate to minimize the export. So hopefully this video will be helpful. But if not, I understand if you decide to stop watching it. But this is the information for my solar system here in the Worcestershire area of the UK, and obviously based on both my kind of specific setup, my usage, and the feed-in tariff payments, etc. I get. I also work from home 100% of the time. Also, so does my wife now. Got various servers, I think running 24/7. So in general, we are a pretty kind of high usage household. And one of the updates since last year, obviously I've had an electric vehicle for a while, but over this last year, my wife has also got an electric vehicle as well. So our electric consumption has also gone up a little bit. So start off by a bit of background about my solar system. So I have a 9 kilowatt solar array on my roof. I think it's kind of southeast facing, and it's all made up of 30 Pymar panels. They all connect back to a 6 kilowatt solar edge inverter. Connected to that, I also have some My Energy devices. So I have a My Energy Eddy that allows me to heat hot water from surplus solar and also from the grid during off-peak times. I boost it. That's done automatically to kind of, especially over the winter, to kind of do what I can to reduce my energy bill. Also have the Zappi Generation 1. We use that to charge both of our electric vehicles. We have a Polestar 2 and a 40 kilowatt Nissan Leaf. And then connected to those also we have a Tesla Powerwall 2, so storage battery with the original gateway, so no backup capabilities. So if the grid goes down or anything, we can't have the solar and the battery running. Those things have to be disabled. So before I had solar, obviously I went through the calculations that I'm sure you did, or you think about doing, or you're in the process of doing right now, is to work out how much electricity do you use right now. In my specific situation, I was also using gas to heat hot water, and I knew with solar I could offload some of that gas usage to electric usage. So I'm interested in how much electricity I was using, how much gas I was using, and for my rose tinted version of events, also the petrol consumption as well. So going back 3 years ago, so before we had solar, we were using around 7,527 kilowatt hours of electricity annually, and we were using 11,718 kilowatt hours of gas annually. So gas was doing hot water as well as our heating. We have electric for all of our cooking. And in terms of petrol, again, I work from home, but there is some commuting that has to happen every now and then to go on site for certain jobs, and obviously ferrying my kids around. So I was using around £2,200 a year of petrol. So that was the kind of baselines that we have, and the system was designed around hopefully being able to meet that annual kilowatt hour requirement. Obviously not spread out across the year, because obviously summer's a good time, so not. But each year we're hoping to generate at least 7,527 kilowatt hours. Now, as I mentioned in the intro, and I will cover at the end, this year actually wasn't great in year 3 in terms of generation, because I had some roof leaking issues that had been going on for a while. So I actually had all of my panels taken off and the roof redone, which again we will cover at the end. So that meant that this year hasn't been a great year because there was a couple of months that I didn't have any solar generation. So in terms of what I was expecting in terms of the solar performance for year 3, so my installer Forever Green Energy, as part of the package they put together as part of the proposal for the solar system, they broke down, I think, over the next 30 years the solar generation prediction in terms of, obviously, over time the efficiency degrades and the panels degrade and everything, so obviously the generation can potentially drop off throughout the year. But I think my panels should still be doing 80% of what they're designed to do in about 25 or 30 years, something like that. So Forever Green Energy said in year 3 should generate around 7,508 kilowatt hours of electricity from solar. The Solar Edge tool as well doesn't really give a very good breakdown in terms of annual yield degrading over time, but that estimates somewhere between 8,435 kilowatt hours in the year, and my own personal prediction is around 7,723 kilowatt hours in this year, and pretty much every other year. I haven't done degrading myself either, so the Forever Green Energy one is hopefully the more accurate number that we're aiming for, which is what the return on investment is all based around. So that's what we're trying to hit for. So in terms of our year 3 data, we obviously don't have a full picture, but what I can tell you is in the months that the solar was running this year, we generated 7,000.47 kilowatt hours. So again, very close to that year 3 number from Forever Green Energy. But remember, there's actually 2 months where I didn't have any solar generation because I had no no panels on my roof. And I can't tell you exactly how much electricity we consume this year either, because again, I rely on the stats I was getting from my Solar Edge inverter where I was recording all this information, and didn't make notes on the electricity meter, which is why I can't kind of do some offline analysis. So we'd used 11,316.48 kilowatt hours of electricity in my house for about 10 months of the year. So it was September to November, so end of September to end of November that I didn't have any solar generation. So at least it wasn't during the summer months, but obviously not great in that kind of rainy time to not have a roof on your house. In terms of the gas consumption for that year period, 7,925.4 kilowatt hours of gas consumed at a charge rate of 2.57 pence per kilowatt hour as well. And again, because we've both got electric vehicles now, absolutely no petrol consumption. And my wife, again, she works quite closely, or quite close to the house, and she was spending about £1,000 a year on petrol. But obviously now, since COVID, has been working from home most of the time. So that's our year 3 data in terms of generation and consumption. So what does that mean for our payback calculations? So based on the electricity that we generate and everything, so we didn't have to get from the grid, we got some money obviously from the feed-in tariff. So the feed-in tariff is broken into the generation benefit, and for that we got £281.92 for the year, and then our export benefit. So if you're not familiar with how FIT works, I won't go into all the detail, but you get a different rate based on 50% of your generation, whether you exported that or not. And I was paid 187.94 pence this year for my export. In terms of that generation, obviously from the solar, the 7,000 kilowatt hours, that's electricity I didn't have to buy from the grid. And so at the current grid rate, on the tariff I'm on, that meant I didn't have to pay for that electricity, which saved me the equivalent of £872.56. And then in terms of the gas usage, obviously the gas usage this year is lower than the gas usage that we used to have before we had solar, because again, majority of our heating now is done through solar surplus with a little bit of gas every now and then, and that means that we saved £97.47 off our gas bill as well. So again, all these things are helping. And remember, even though we're using more electricity, we also now have no petrol vehicles that we need to be putting petrol in. So again, I still call this my rose tinted version piece, but that's about £3,200 worth of petrol spend that we haven't had to consider either. And that doesn't include the consideration for any inflation increase in petrol costs. So what does that mean? I think last year the payback was under 10 years. I think it was like 9 years or 8 months or something like that. But obviously with that kind of gap that we had this year with 2 months of no solar, that has impacted the payback performance. And so our payback is now 10 years and 2 months if we're just factoring electric and gas savings in terms of return on investment for our kind of upfront solar costs. If we want to do the rose tinted version, I still kind of argue with myself about whether this is valid or not, because obviously we are using more electricity because we are charging and running electric vehicles, but that's saving on petrol costs, even though obviously the electric vehicles cost us more money to buy. If we factored that in, we're currently looking at a 3 years and 9 months payback period in terms of our total costs. So it's still the 10 years 2 months one that I kind of consider. I'm hoping that's going to drop down again next year to below 10 years, because hopefully we have no more issues with the panels or anything like that. But that gives you some kind of rough estimate on what the payback looks like if you have a 9 kilowatt solar array with a 6 kilowatt inverter. And actually one of the things that really increases the time in the payback is the battery cost. I still think batteries don't make financial sense in terms of they do cost a lot of money, but it just means you can maximize the usage of your solar, with the benefit of obviously you can also pull from the grid and charge it up during off-peak times, which is what I do as well to reduce my energy bill throughout the year. So I hope that helped give you some indication of kind of what my payback process is like and how things are looking for me. Last year I did try and work out how much it would be if I didn't have the feed-in tariff and I was just exporting, but it kind of gets a bit awkward because again I'm trying not to export anything. So I think last year it would increase my payback by 3 years. It's probably about the same, if not gone up, because again we're exporting even less now that we're charging 2 electric vehicles as well. So that's it. I hope it was interesting and provided some insight into solar payback for my system. Feel free to leave any comments or questions you have in the comments section below. I will try and cover that off. Now I'm just going to kind of communicate a little bit about the saga we had with the roof leaking and everything, because quite a few people have asked, but I want to keep that separate in the end of the video, which we'll go through right now. Those of you that follow the channel, mainly those of you that participate in the Discord channel and provide commentary and ask questions and collaborate over there, which is fantastic, because I try not to kind of talk too much in the videos about what's going on behind the scenes, but I think it's pretty common knowledge that I've mentioned in previous videos. Since I had my install, after about 6 months I noticed I had a leak because water was coming into basically most of the upstairs rooms at the back of the house, so both my children's bedrooms and the bathroom, and it seemed that water was somehow getting in behind the tiles. I have slate tiles, which I think is a little bit harder to do your installs on as well. And for Evergreen Energy, were very quick. They kept on coming back multiple times, getting up, having scaffolding put up, taking scaffolding down, get up on the ladder, kind of taking the tiles off, readjusting the LED flashings and stuff around the mounts, but we continued to keep on getting basically issues with leaking. So last year the owner for Evergreen Energy decided that the best thing to do was to get a specialist, I say specialist, the solar people, obviously solar installers, they have obviously roofing knowledge, but they're not roofers, so they decided that they'd get a roofer to come and have a look to see if there was a better way that they could do the tiles and the install and everything around there. So for Evergreen selected a roofer. They came out and basically said the only way that they can warranty their work is if they basically take all the panels off, and they think that if they re-roofed it, they could basically solve the leaking problem. So the plan was to take obviously all the panels off, which happened, had scaffolding put up. They were going to take off all of the slate. They would have to replace some of the slate, obviously it had been cut, but they could reposition where the mounts were, ensure that they're watertight, put good LED flashing around, make a good seal and good overlap, because they're pretty sure that's where the water was leaking through from. So, and that work would obviously be warranted and guaranteed as well for 10 years. So if there are any other issues Obviously Forever Green Energy was still helping support with that, but now they also had the backing of the roofing company to sort that all out. Unfortunately, the whole thing was a nightmare, and I don't say this flippantly. It was kind of close to like divorce kind of situations. My wife was very unhappy with the whole situation. Firstly, because we'd had scaffolding up for so many months already anyway, trying to solve these problems. Unfortunately, her father had recently passed away as well, which kind of added some emotional elements to things. And the whole thing just was a bit of a nightmare. So Forever Green came promptly. They got the scaffolding up. They took all the solar panels off and secured them nice and securely at the top of the scaffolding. However, then it took quite a few weeks before the roofing company would come to do the roofing. They eventually turned up. There was a lot of issues communicating and trying to get hold of people. Forever Green did the best they could, but eventually the roofing people came. They started to strip the roof off to kind of try and put things right. So again, there's already frustration it had taken so long. Then basically I think they overloaded the scaffolding. So I don't think the scaffolding had been put up enough to support the weight of all the roof tiles. I don't think that was communicated properly to the scaffolding company. So what happened is all the roof tiles that were supposed to be reused came smashing down onto the floor. The scaffolding collapsed in the middle with the roofers on it. Thankfully they were fine. A load of slate tiles smashed through the windowsill as well. So I'll pop up some pictures on the screen so you can see some of these things I'm talking about. Also, when they were taking all the tiles off the roof, they were literally just throwing and sliding them down. So it pretty much damaged all of my rear windows and smashed through guttering. And even now still I find bits of nails and slate and all sorts of stuff over it in my grass and stuff, which is not great when you've got kids and a dog. So then what happened is Forever Green Energy again still doing a good job. I would have preferred if they'd come out and see some of the stuff that was happening, as opposed to kind of feeling like I was dealing with a lot of it and then arguing on the phone about certain things. It would be much better to do these things in person, also to see kind of the shit show that was happening, and it was kind of felt a bit in the middle of some stuff. Forever Green Energy agreed to buy all new tiles, because obviously pretty much all of them are wrecked because they're now smashed on the floor. So that was good. The scaffolding company, even though I don't think it was their fault, they were great actually. They came out a couple of times to see what had happened damage wise, and they agreed to pay for the damage to the window where the scaffolding obviously come down, everything, even though I don't think it was really their fault, but that was great. And there's absolutely no issues with them paying for that and getting it sorted. That's another situation that was a little bit awkward, but it got sorted out in the end. Unfortunately, when the scaffolding company came to put up some more scaffolding, they reversed into my wife's new car. That put things way into a very awkward situation for me at home. It was already quite awkward already. Again, they did pay to get that fixed, but again, it's something I had to organise, taking the car away, and my wife was out of the car for a few days. I had to have a new side panel and respray and everything. And again, she just got that car, so that sucked. Then the whole thing was a mess as it was going on. You can see in the pictures how messy everything was. I put up new guttering when everything was finished. Eventually the roof was kind of done, but I had to get them to come back again the same day because they hadn't done it very neat on the top of the roof. It was kind of all over the place. They hadn't cut things to the right length. Even now when you look at it, it's a bit higgledy-piggledy. And thankfully, touch wood, I still get paranoid every time it rains. It so far still isn't leaking, so I'm pretty confident that that's okay. But more recently, all of the edging of the side started to come out. I tried to call them to get them back multiple times and text them and email them. They never turned up. No communication. No one thinks the warranty is worth nothing if people won't come back. So I've paid to have the roof fixed and new ridges done on the sides or the gable ends. That's all been redone. And even in the side, when they were doing all the brand new felting, they kept on dropping screwdrivers and saws, which were putting holes in it, which they just then filled with silicone. So I've been round and kind of sealed all those with different tape, because you could see the outside in some of those areas as well. So the whole thing was just a nightmare. Again, it's long behind me now, but hopefully that answers the questions to those of you that were asking kind of what happened and why was it such a nightmare and what was the end result. So I'm very thankful for Evergreen Energy for kind of paying, getting all those things sorted. So no issues there. Again, like I said, it would be great if they'd come out and kind of had some follow-up discussion on it, but battery ran out. But I think I covered pretty much everything. So that's it. All's well that ends well. Hopefully an experience that I won't have to go through again. Hopefully the roof is all good and we have no other problems. Solar still seems to be working really well. So really happy with the system and how it's working. I think I mentioned in the past that I was looking at having the Tesla Powerwall backup gateway 2, but never had any follow-up from the solar company on the costs and getting that installed. And obviously I spent most of my money now on some of the other roof fixing stuff that I was kind of setting aside for that gateway 2 anyway. So thank you very much for watching. If you've stayed this long and you enjoyed the video, please consider liking it. It'd be much appreciated. Any questions, leave them down in the comments. I'll get back to you. And yeah, if you haven't done already, please consider subscribing and pressing the notification icon for more geeky, solar-y and other type stuff related videos. Thanks very much for watching. Take care of yourself and goodbye for now.